right, looks like we are live. Hey, y'all.
What's
Back in the
good,
world
y'all?
once again.
Welcome to Biden Harris Watch. If you're out there, leave a comment in the chat. If you're joining on YouTube, don't forget to like this video.
Reese, I just
And
noticed your shirt. That's dope. That's
thank
dope.
you. The
That's
shirt that I'm
dope.
wearing was actually designed by Haley Taylor Schultz. She is let me see, how old is she now? 17, I think. She's 17.
What?
And she is a second year law student.
What?
I might be messing this up, but shout out to Haley. She was gonna send me the shirt, and I said, no, give me the link and I'll buy the shirt. I'm like the kind of person, I support it or don't. Like, it's like, don't send me something for free. If I want to support you, especially a young Black girl who is, trying to do something, send a message, then I'm gonna just,
Hold
I
up,
don't need
hold up,
to,
hold up.
for that.
You
I don't
said
need,
look.
huh?
You said little sis is 17 or so, a second year law student
Yes.
at
I
17.
Yes. I interviewed her for my Unbossed Unfiltered live a couple weeks ago. This is actually before Kamala was announced. And so we had a great conversation. She's just so inspirational to me. I'm sorry, I said Schultz. Haley Taylor Schlitz. So I'm gonna leave the link to the shirt. I purchased the shirt, okay? This is not free promo in the sense of, she sent it to me for me to wear the shirt. I purchased it because I think she's fabulous, and I want to support what she's doing. So, and I think tonight with the really devastating news about Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's um, such a historic person, figure, icon, that this is for RGB and all of the women that are currently making history. So yeah, this is for RGB tonight.
All right,
Dope,
y'all.
dope. What we looking like?
I see a lot of people actually jumping in. You got a good amount of views on this Periscope, girl. But let's get into these topics. We're
Let's
gonna have
get
to
it.
talk about a lot of
Kenny, your
things.
volume is a little low for me. It's not the same volume as Drew.
Oh, hold on.
My microphone is like right next to my face though. Hold on. Maybe that's. And plus, I got a lot of worry in my voice right now.
I
Can y'all hear
know.
me now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. I don't know what that was about.
All
All right.
right. Well, look, let's just get into it. New name. Who this? Yo. Yeah, check it out, y'all. You are now rocking with the livest, internet's finest. So I know what we actually are Biden Harris Watch. And we are in here to make sure that we keep a watchful eye on everything Biden Harris, everything that has to pertain or even loosely related to that. I am Drew Comments, back in the world once again, chilling like a villain and villain like a chilling with the North Carolina A&T shirt on, just repping my alma mater because I'm in that kind of mood right now. As far as what's in my cup, you want alcohol, don't you? But it's not. This is apple juice. Just because, yo, it made me feel better when I'm worried. No, no, I'm not. I'm laughing because I want to cry. Like dead ass, bro. Like I'm dead serious. Like ain't nothing funny. Like what Mob Deep said. Yeah, life is a gamble. We can look. I might crack a smile, but that damn thing funny. Anyway, moving on. You know the familiar faces up in there. Got my man Kenny. Too raw, too real. What's happening with you, bro?
What's good, y'all? Just trying to keep my sanity right now with all the news that basically happened with RGB. I'm just honestly, I'm mad as hell. I'm trying to keep face and trying to be nice because y'all know me and I will go off. That's why I'm too raw and too damn real. But we have something to actually do tonight, so we have to stay focused and stay to our goal. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. Sydney A. The Sydney A underscore. What's happening? Welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Sydney A. I am back. Again, I'm in all black. It's a somber night tonight with the unfortunate passing of RBG. But we're going to get into some topics. I had to pour up a stiffy okay, I got some Deleon going on here, and I got a little bit of lemonade. You know, I keep it short and simple, but yeah, we've got it's a pretty somber, heavy night. So we're gonna try to make this as interesting as possible.
Look, I was trying to find something strong enough to drink, but they was looking at me funny when I went to the gas station and tried to put 87 in my cup. Like, nigga, like, is it that bad, bro? I'm like, look, bro, it is that. You're right. 91.
Everclear, right? Okay, get the Everclear out, bro, because this is
straight.
I need a loco. Okay, I need like a bag of shrimp. No, I'm just kidding. But like I need something to get me out of here. This is insane.
I was about to try to drink 91 straight, no chaser. Gas
Oh
station.
God!
Shout out to Mo.
Yeah.
And also, you know, Black Women Views and everything that has to do with that type of news. Reese is in the building with the bomb shirt. That shirt's so fire though, for real, yo. I don't even need a daughter to wear that. I just wear it just cause.
Yeah, you know, this is something men can support, ambitious girls, ambitious women. Yeah, I just want everybody to stay encouraged. I know this is very deflating news. I think it is very just devastating news for us all. The stakes just got that much higher for this election, but we cannot lose hope. Just one thing to keep in mind is I know that Mitch McConnell has already stated that he will potentially seat a nominee, but he needs the votes. And so I think in addition to obviously staying focused on the task, which is electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we also have an opportunity to apply pressure to the Republicans like Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Cory Gardner, Mitt Romney, and so on and so forth, and making sure that he does not get to 50 votes, because then in that case, Mike Pence can break the tie. So we still have work to do in terms of the election, and we still have work to do in terms of saving our democracy. So stay encouraged, stay vigilant. Let's keep our eyes on the prize. We obviously honor RGB. And the best way to honor her, as she said, is make sure that you do not seat a Supreme Court justice before a new president is installed.
Absolutely, yo, for real. Like, no, seriously, these Republican senators need to start thinking about their legacy. This Trump thing, they need to understand. Wake up, this is over. Now, do you want to be remembered? How you want to be remembered? Now, listen, you got an opportunity to salvage any kind of goodness about your record that you got for the rest of your life. Don't let this go through. But let's jump right into it, because as heartbreaking as the RBG news is.
I think you skip Maya.
Oh, yeah, Maya just jumped in.
Wait, Maya's in here right now?
Yes, you don't see that hair? You don't see that hair?
I wanted Maya to... Wait, what's she? Oh, what's up? My bad, Maya. I didn't see you. I'm on my phone.
I was totally fine.
I thought you were going to descend from the rafters like Diana Ross or something. Like
I did. There's rafters above me, literally, right now.
You look awesome tonight. I just wanted to let you know you're giving me like super 80s, like Bronx vibe right now. Like, you're giving me L Train vibes to Manhattan. I love it. Like,
thank you. Thank you.
Out there in the wilderness. That's what's so awesome about it.
I know.
In the wilderness with nature, or in a log town.
Maya's the highlight of my night right now, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm ready to get into it. I know all of us are feeling a certain way. I think that there'll be some kind of galvanizing right now, that people that might have been still idealistic might have gotten a huge smack of reality tonight. So when I talk about voting rights, I'll get into that as well. So I'm ready to go. Thanks, Drew.
Well, what you drinking? Or do you have something like, if it's anything less than gasoline, you're wrong. That's how I feel.
Bobby, what'd you make me? Tequila? Yeah? A Maya margarita. I don't know what that means.
A Maya margarita. That's water and rubbing alcohol.
Exactly. Exactly.
I need it. Okay.
Cheers.
My dad has a drink called the Byron-tini, so I get it. I love it. It's funny.
I would drink nuclear waste right now. Anyway, let's just get into it. I'm dead for real, bro. I'm so effed. I'm on that level right now. Reese face is like, you capping, bro. I'm like, nah, for real. But no, all right, let's get into it. Let's go. So very well, first off, let me start my segment off by saying, what year are we living in? What kind of world are we living in? What kind of country are we living in? The reason I say that is because on Tuesday, it was a group of 168 members of Congress who sent a letter urging Department of Homeland Security Inspector General Joseph Kafari, I believe his name is, to investigate the allegations of mass hysterectomies of detained women in 2020. Which is why everything just hit me too fast right now. The whistleblower is a Black woman by the name of Dawn Wooten. She's a nurse who worked at the facility until her just pretty sudden demotion back in July. She filed a whistleblower a complaint, and she was demoted from full-time, because at one point she was full-time nurse, to as needed. And says she believes this is because she had been asking hard questions about testing detained immigrants for COVID-19 and warning officers when detained immigrants they're in contact with have tested positive. Advocates in Georgia have raised red flags about the human rights violations occurring inside the Irwin County Detention Center. So Ms. Wooten's whistleblowing disclosures really confirm that detained immigrants, or really what detained immigrants have been reporting for years, which is really just a gross disregard for health and for safety standards, lack of medical care, and unsanitary living conditions at Irwin. And this is according to a woman by the name of Priyanka Bhatt. She's actually a staff attorney at a social justice advocacy group known as Project South. But she was letting us know with that happening. But the complaint brings attention to obviously unsanitary conditions and such, but specifically, it raises red flags about the rate at which hysterectomies are performed on immigrant women detained in the facilities. And when I say hysterectomy, literally the removal of uteruses. It's hard for me to even talk about it, because it's just, this is really happening, bro. Anyway, so basically the complaint was saying that several immigrant women, they were expressing concerns to Project South about a high rate of hysterectomies that Nurse Dawn Wooten and other nurses at the facility questioned the number of women undergoing the procedure, as well as their ability to fully understand and consent to it. For me personally, that's just weird, because the last thing for me, it's just hard for me to imagine that a hysterectomy would be top priority from somebody who is detained in a country that they're not from. That's not some shit it ain't like running to the vending machine. That's just anyway. This is really happening. But according to the complaint, there was a detained immigrant that told Project South that she talked to 5 women at the facility who received hysterectomies between October and December 2019, and said they reacted confused when explaining why they had done why they had had one done in the first place. This woman said that when she met all the women who had surgeries, I thought it was like an experimental concentration camp. It was like they're experimenting with our bodies. Dawn Wooten said in the complaint that one particular gynecologist, whom she called the uterus collector, performs the procedures. Everybody he sees, he's taking all their uteruses out, or he's taking their tubes out. This is real life. So this is what's happening. And it brings me back also to the statement that the cruelty is the point with this administration, especially when it's dealing with people who are at the border, who are brown and Black, by the way. It's not just brown folk out there. There are Black detainees there as well. But again, the cruelty is the point. And the cruelty is the point because it's meant to discourage further people from attempting to come to the border. So you amp up the meanness and the cruelness in order to send a particular message. Well, the message is sent. Now, what it does also do, it brings back memories of eras like Nazi Germany, for instance, and concentration and those types. As a matter of fact, women were sterilized in those times so that they could be used as laborers, but be prevented from reproduction. That way, the reproductive, threat, quote unquote, threat or possibility would not interfere with their productivity. The specific as it pertains to Black women. You have to go back. For me, you can go back centuries, but I look at someone like James Marion Sims, who developed pioneering tools and surgical techniques that's related to women's reproductive health. And he's called the father of modern gynecology. But his research was conducted on enslaved Black women without anesthesia, without medical ethicists, and historians and other people have actually called for the monuments that are made to him to be removed, or for them to be reconfigured as tributes to the enslaved women known to have, endured his experiments. This is what people do when they do not value you as a human being. This is what people do to just be evil. And so I know Nancy Pelosi and other members also mentioned that, if these complaints are true, this is serious human rights violations in the year 2020. And it's being conducted by the United States. Obviously, not every single citizen is complicit, but at the same time, it's done with people who have the American flag on their arm. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we're dealing with, which is extremely look, it's disturbing. It's disturbing. I'm sorry. Like, somebody's going into your body and taking out a body part like that. Something like it's beyond evil. It's beyond evil. And I know that there are. I don't want to be too negative. I try to be the person that inspires people, but you know what? Let me not say it, because I won't say we're gonna pay for this. Chickens come home, but as a country, this is not good. If you believe that every action has a reaction, if you believe in karma, if you believe that you do certain things, if you believe that you reap what you sow, listen, this is not good. This is bad. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open this up to any comments, but especially the women here on the panel. I can't even imagine, honestly and truly, bro. Like, I mean, I can imagine, I'm a Black man from America. Like, if I do my history, I understand that there was also sterilization of Black men as well. But this is different. Removing uteruses, it's still different. Even as a man, it's still different. So, Reese, I know you had something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is also white supremacist policies making, right? I mean, this is to keep America whiter. I mean, not only are you trying to keep America whiter by, detaining these immigrants, treating them in just the most inhumane ways. I don't know if you guys recall, but the Trump administration argued against providing toothbrushes and soap to immigrant detainees. So cruelty is the point, but it's not just to be cruel. It's for a white supremacist ideology. It's the implementation of white supremacy in our government. So that's another thing. But what's the bottom line is that this is something that is rectifiable in the sense of we should not be doing these things to human beings. And the only way to put a stop to it is by voting out Donald Trump, is by voting out these people that have this white supremacist ideology that treat immigrants and people of color as animals, as I mean, I don't know if you guys are watching Lovecraft Country. I don't know if anybody's watching Lovecraft Country. So one of the plots in one of the episodes is that there is this doctor who was experimenting on human beings. I know this is a fictional show, and like this is like what's happening right now in these immigrant detainees that we know of. I mean, imagine what we don't know of. We don't even know how many different detention centers this is happening in. We don't know what they're doing with body parts. I mean, this could potentially be the tip of the iceberg. And so this horror film is actually playing out by the United States government through the Trump administration. So we have to vote these people out. It's not enough to just say, oh, that's terrible. If you're a person of conscience, if you're a person who has a moral conscious, then you have a duty to do something about making sure that these people do not have another 4 years to terrorize immigrant communities. And I've seen some people, I saw a person one time say, oh, well, immigration is not a Black issue. Yes, it is. Everybody who's immigrant, if you look at it and you say, oh, that's happening to El Salvadorians, or that's happening to this specific group of people, it doesn't impact me. Number one, immigrants come from all racial and ethnic backgrounds. So that's number one. That shouldn't have to be a criteria for you to care as a decent human being, but let's just get that straight. But number two, the point is that every single assault that we see, it starts somewhere. And you can't just wait till it's at your front door for you to start caring. And so the fact that this administration has absolutely zero regard for human rights, this is not just a civil rights, this is a human rights issue, is something that should shake the conscience of everybody and say, we have to put a stop to this and make sure that we vote out Donald Trump and Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell.
But this is nothing new. Literally, they've done this before. Have you guys you remember Tuskegee with syphilis? I mean, they've done this. This is history. So for people to really sit here and think that for some odd reason you will be excluded from actually being, tortured, that you must be out of your mind. History has shown that that's just not the way that works. You guys might want to go and dig into history, because history always tends to repeat itself.
Yeah, it's actually, I'm glad you brought up Tuskegee, because that's actually what I was thinking too. This is crazy. Also, I saw that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Fannie Lou Hamer is a person who was forced to have a hysterectomy. And so, and pivoting just a little bit, Black women have a disproportionate rate of hysterectomies because of fibroids. So there are so many layers, and there's so many ways where Black women's bodies are under assault. We know with RGB, if the Senate, if the Republicans get a 6-3 majority, we can do away with Roe v. Wade. So the point isn't that everything is political, but the point is that elections have consequences, and we have a duty to make sure that the country that we have come January 2021 is a country that values women's rights, values human rights, and that we put a stop to this madness. And I can only imagine how much more emboldened these people will feel if they get reelected. I mean, they really are going to show us a level that we haven't even seen if they get another 4 years. And that would be on us if we did not do enough to stop them.
Let's also keep in mind the history of the prison system as well. And that's the history with the prison system, incarcerated women and hysterectomies as well against their will. As a matter of fact, I didn't get a chance to see all 50 states. I know I did look up what we do here in California. They stopped doing hysterectomies for women here in California in 1979. But back in the early 1900s, moving forward, this was happening. I think it was like 20,000 or so. Sterilizations of men and women. I didn't get to see the breakdown based on gender, but men and women, there were over 20,000 from like 1909 moving forward to like 1970, 77, 78, but in 79 is when they stopped it. So like I said, I'm sure, the numbers may look similar or worse in Texas, Alabama, and stuff like that. I didn't get a chance to look at that, but there is a history of cruelness in this just on this particular topic.
No, I know we're supposed to be moving forward, but Jesus, Lord God, where is the pro-lifers right now? Yeah. Where the hell are y'all at? Like, y'all talk about pro-life, and this just doesn't make any sense. Like, what about the lives? What about that if we're forcing hysterectomies on immigrants? Where are y'all at? Where's the outrage? Or are y'all just too busy standing outside of Planned Parenthood?
Well, that would require them to actually tell the truth about what that movement actually is about.
Speak on it.
Right. No,
it's definitely not about preserving the life of minorities. That's for sure. The lives of minorities, I should say. It's about forcing birth onto one specific group of people, and that's white women. And I mean, the facts are the facts. So.
Yeah, that's true. Also, gonna say this, and we're gonna move forward here. When it comes to the pro-lifers and Planned Parenthood, I love when they throw that stat out. Talking about look at all the number of Black babies that were aborted. Do you understand that if you're going to Planned Parenthood and aborting a child, that's the woman's choice to do that? no one's putting a gun on no sister's head and having her go to a Planned Parenthood clinic to get an abortion. That's a choice being made. So please don't tell me that Planned Parenthood is racist and this, that, and third. They want to kill all black. The mothers are actively making that decision. This is not a forced a situation to be in. So yeah, that's just the dumb stuff. Like, I'm going to kill, but shut up. Anyway, moving forward, because I'm about to start cussing if my mama watch this show. Anyway, Townhalls. We need this. I need to talk about it. We got to talk about it because we are seeing the greatest. Man, look, Kenny, I'm gonna let you talk about it, man.
All right.
The Townhalls between what we got and what we should got.
So it's just literally incompetence versus competency. That's literally all it was. It literally, Donald Trump didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He was just ignorant on the facts. Literally, there's just so much. Like, do you guys not understand that this is just not a game anymore? Like, allowing him to continue to do the things that he's doing is just not a game anymore. It's sad because I saw a lot of people tweeting saying, and I agree with most of these tweets, just saying that these undecided voters held Donald Trump more accountable than the media has done in 4 years in 1 hour. It's sad when you see this, being the fact that he literally wants to talk about, he wants to protect pre-existing conditions. However, he was rolling back Obamacare. He wanted to talk about it down. He wanted to say that he did not downplay COVID-19 when we got him on audio. Like, everything he said was a straight lie, straight bold-faced lie. And then he wants to blame Joe Biden and say, well, he didn't put out a mandatory, wearing of masks. When Joe Biden is a private citizen, he doesn't hold any position in office. Unless he's must be flourishing in the future, thinking that Joe Biden's going to be president, which he will be. Maybe he's looking into the future about what Joe Biden's going to do. Because honestly, if he had just acted, 200,000 people wouldn't be dead right now. And that's where the sad thing comes. And when it comes to Joe Biden, I thank God for Joe Biden. I'm thank God for him actually being open and actually speaking about. He literally opened up with the town hall talking about that he has benefited from white privilege, which I rarely hear from white people. I really don't hear that from white candidates. A lot of people aren't willing to open that door. But I like that fact that he's actually able to admit to some things that he's has benefited because of the color of his skin and because of who he was born into. So I like that. It gives it opens the door, but a real option to actually talk about racial disparities and actually be able to put it in policy rather than playing the victim and acting like these things don't exist. So when you guys are really thinking about when you're voting, you need to actually decide whether you want somebody who's going to actually talk about the issues and actually try to deal with the racial disparities of our nation, or somebody who's going to act like they don't exist and continue to allow chaos to ensue throughout the nation. So when I want everybody to actually go back and watch that. Watch it. If you don't even want to watch it, just take my word for it, because y'all probably won't do it anyway. But I'm just saying, we really need to make a decision. And there's only one clear choice right now, and that person is Joe Biden. I'm going to end that quick because we got other things to jump to, because we kind of running on time.
Yeah, you said it, man. You said it. It's clear at this point. It's one side or the other. You already know. You should know what you're doing right now, especially when it comes to just simple things like being able to acknowledge that climate change is real. Like, hello, that this should be easy. Reese, please. Speaking of climate change.
Yeah, just one thing I add to what Kenny said. Joe Biden had the highest rated CNN town hall last night, and I think I saw it was 3.8 million viewers compared to 3.3 perhaps for Donald Trump on ABC. So there is a considerable amount of enthusiasm and engagement from the electorate in terms of trying to hear from both sides. Obviously, there's more interest in what Joe Biden has to say, and I think he had a very substantive town hall versus Donald Trump, who just pushes forth this alternative reality. And to me, the fact that Donald Trump believes that he's doing a good job should be disqualifying in and of itself, because I don't think that anybody would say that what's happening right now is a job well done. But speaking of climate change, the reason why we're discussing this today is because there are a number of historic size wildfires that are happening across 3 states on the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. We know that Senator Kamala Harris went viral for her Timberlands and getting off the plane. But she wasn't just there to wear some cool shoes. She was actually there to survey the damage from these wildfires in California. She met with Governor Gavin Newsom and surveyed some things. And one of the things that Senator Kamala Harris stated that is just really is the perfect way of summing it up is that if you give a climate arsonist, this is referring to Trump, 4 more years in the White House, why would anybody be surprised if we have more of America ablaze? If you give a climate denier 4 more years in the White House, why would anybody be surprised when more of America is underwater? Actually, sorry, this is what Joe Biden said. And so this is so important because we've seen, I believe it was just this week where Donald Trump says, oh, watch, it's going to get cooler. Well, climate change is not just about, getting hot versus cold, because climate change, people think global warming and they just think, oh, okay, that means that the temperatures are getting hotter. It's more sophisticated than that. But we are seeing these extreme weather patterns throughout the entire country. I mean, Chicago just had snow. I think Denver had snow, and it's like, what the hell is going on? And it just goes through these different extremes. But the thing about the fires is that this is a climate issue. Now, there's suspected arsonists in, I believe it was one of the Oregon fires, but in terms of the largest fire in the history of California, which is what they're calling the August Complex fire, that was started by a lightning strike in a fire. In a forest. And so this is what happens when we have droughts. This is what happens when you have trees dying. This is also what happens when you have poor management from the United States Forest Service, which Donald Trump is actually the person who has oversight over that. Donald Trump tries to blame the states, saying that they're the ones that are not managing the fires when the forest, when in reality, most of the forest land in California is actually federally managed. And so Donald Trump has abdicated his responsibility in terms of that. And a large part of it goes to the fact that he just believes that these are blue states and they don't matter. And so he will not be a person who will lift a finger to actually stop or prevent these wildfires from happening. And somebody in the comments said the cloud/haze in NJ this week was caused by the smoke from California. This is drastically impacting our air quality. And to even add another layer to it, when we see disproportionate impacts in Black communities and Latino communities from asthma, it's because of air quality and things like that. And so this has health implications, it has economic implications, it has climate change climate implications. So this is something that's not just a California issue, as somebody like I just said. The air quality and the ash and the smoke is actually going across the entire country. And so this is something that we all should be concerned about. We've had, I think this week was a hurricane watch that we were under. And so climate change is very much real. Now, what we need in addition is to not just have this aspirational plan. At the town hall, Joe Biden was asked if he supports the Green New Deal. And he said, I have my own deal, right? And Joe Biden has a very well-received and well-regarded climate change plan for the Biden-Harris administration. But what people also don't understand, it's not just about passing legislation, it's about FEMA and how they are managing the response to these climate crises. It's also about, like I said, the forest management and things like that. And so we need a competent government with that has federal oversight, that has an administration where people actually are managing these different things. And then the last thing I just want to point out, one of the things that I always like to talk about is receipts. Well, Senator Kamala Harris, being a senator from California, has always put forth legislation to try to address the climate crisis. At the time, it doesn't sound all that glamorous, because it's like, well, why is she focusing on, forest preservation or other things like that? But I did want to draw attention to what she proposed in November of 2019, which was the Wildfire Defense Act. And that was $1 billion per year to address this. Things like improving evacuations and access for first responders. We've had, I think, 18 people have died. First responders have died. Addressing vulnerable populations, including the elderly, those with disabilities, and the homeless. What do we do with them? Hardening critical infrastructure and homes. Applying defensible space to create a buffer between communities and the forest. Again, that goes back to, like I said, the fact that these forest fires, starting from natural causes like lightning, are spilling over into the community. So that defensible space is really important. Deploying distributed energy resources like microgrids with battery storages, educating community members. So there's a lot of different methods, that are a lot of different ways of addressing the wildfire crisis. Again, this is not just a California issue anymore, but this is something that Senator Kamala Harris has really been leading the charge on in the Senate. Also, earlier this year, she and along with Dianne Feinstein and other senators, started pressing FEMA, this was in April, about their preparedness. Actually, the Forest Service, this was in April 30th, 2020, where they sought answers from the U.S. Forest Service on what they're going to do to protect communities and firefighters amidst the COVID-19 crisis. So that's something that they have had their eye towards. I don't think that the response from the federal government has been adequate. And she's pressed them multiple times throughout the year. This isn't something where she waited until the state was on fire to start thinking of these issues. And so it's not obviously just Senator Kamala Harris's work that matters on this, also Joe Biden's. But the whole point of that is to say that we would have in a Biden-Harris administration leaders that understand the infrastructure of the government, will use the powers of the government to actively manage and mitigate our risks from wildfires, and have a plan so that climate change is starting to be addressed again after Trump has completely abdicated and actually worsened the United States responses to climate change.
You said something that's evergreen. You said Trump abdicated his responsibilities. And I know you continued on the rest of the sentence, but you literally could have stopped right there, because it's just this. no cap. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? But that's real.
Yeah.
But speaking of personal experience, Trump has done nothing when it comes to dealing with climate change or anything like that. I don't know if you guys remember back in 2016, and I'm always in the most worst vulnerable places. I was living in Lumberton, North Carolina, and we were hit by a hurricane called Hurricane Matthews, okay? Literally, he came to Lumberton, had a whole rally and everything. He said that he was going to help build up these businesses that were washed away. He didn't do a damn thing. Those businesses are still where they were 4 years ago, still abandoned and still completely just destroyed. Donald Trump has done nothing for anybody. Everything he said that he's going to do when it comes to climate change and helping build businesses, he has run us into the ground, just like he's done every business he's ever owned. And Donald Trump is a liar.
He is, but another point is, again, going back to how Donald Trump's approach to governance is all transactional. And it's all about, well, am I going to get votes out of this? Am I going to get power out of this? This week, he's all of a sudden 3 years after Hurricane Maria decided to do something or try to propose aid to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, I remember him throwing paper towels at Puerto Rico. I remember them begging. The San Juan mayor was begging Donald Trump for support. He was right on top of things when it came to this response in Texas. That may be an overstatement, but I'm saying if you look at the difference between his response to Texas compared to how he responded to Puerto Rico, that's drastically different. 3 years after Hurricane Maria, he's finally deciding to, and just 40-something days before the election, to actually give Puerto Rico aid that they've been begging for, that the Democrats have been trying to get to Puerto Rico. It's a stunt. And we don't have time for Trump to decide that something is politically expedient for him in order to get a competent and humane response out of our government.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Reese, because this is the other thing. I saw a lot of people, retweeting and saying that Trump has done so much for HBCUs. Let's remind them that it was Kamala Harris who actually negotiated a 14% increase of HBCU funding. So do not do that. Everything is transactional when it comes to this man.
So also keep in mind that Alma Adams wrote the bill, by the way, from North Carolina. Sade. Now she a bad one too, man. If y'all don't know about Alma Adams, please look her up. She is dynamic. Absolutely. No, he definitely was like 4 years ago, 3.5 some years ago, practicing his free throws with paper towels to people in Puerto Rico. Like literally sitting there. Who does that? Who hands out paper towels like that? And now all of a sudden, like you said, 40-some days before the election, $13 billion. Not to mention, people in his administration was trying to hand out Trump cards. $100 Trump cards to seniors and the elderly so that you can use those to pay for drugs. After 3.5 years of doing nothing, it's a man who's desperately trying not to get blown the F out in this election, but it's finna happen to you. Moving forward, though, we mentioned a sensitive topic. Well, we mentioned Tuskegee, which is historically very, very sensitive to people who look like the folks on this panel. Which is why there is a little bit of concern for the other word, vaccine, because we have a little bit of distrust. But I don't want to get too much into that. Go ahead, Sydney. I know you want to talk about possible vaccine situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all. So tonight I just wanted to kind of just touch base on Joe Biden and the Biden-Harris plan. The 7-point plan that they proposed to beat COVID-19. I know that's a big ticket issue for voters. What is the future of COVID-19 look like after the election? As opposed to, in comparison to what Donald Trump has proposed and what he is proposing for the future. So we're gonna just dive into the list here. Number one, the first part of this agenda looks like Biden will be looking to fix Trump's testing and tracing fiasco to ensure that all Americans have access to regular, reliable, and free testing. They're going to double the number of drive-through testing sites, invest in the next generation of testing, including home kits, instant tests, so that we can scale up our testing capacity by orders of magnitude. And we're going to actually start up a pandemic testing board, like Roosevelt's war production board. It's basically how we produce tanks and military grade, items over the years. And lastly, we're going to establish a U.S. public health job corps. So it's out of the gate, we're looking at real tangibles here. That will be implemented day one. I know I speak about that a lot. Number two, here we have we're going to be fixing the personal protective equipment problems for good. Joe Biden will take responsibility rather than leave states, cities, tribes, and territories to fend for themselves and focus on producing more of these critical supplies. So that means more masks. That means that Lysol will be back on the shelves at some point, y'all. That means we won't have any bleach shortages. That means y'all don't have to go to the store and buy up all the toilet paper. Okay. Joe Biden is going to take care of that. We're going to have enough supplies. We're going to step up production, and we're going to make sure that those lines of commerce, those lines of freight are delivered and they're on time and they're plentiful. If you have if you guys shop at Sam's Club or Costco, you know that you guys can go start buying this stuff in bulk. You don't have to worry about it. Joe Biden will make sure that we have enough stock here just in case we have another shutdown. All right. Number 3, provide clear, consistent, evidence-based national guidance for how communities should navigate the pandemic and the resources for schools, small businesses, and families to make it through. Basically, Joe Biden is going to assist us. He's going to propose solutions for social distancing. In the statement, he says that social distancing is not a light switch, it is a dial. Joe Biden will direct the CDC to provide specific evidence-based guidance for how to turn that dial up or down relative to the level of risk and degree of viral spread in a community, including when to open and close certain businesses, bars, restaurants, and other spaces, when to open and close schools, and what steps they need to take to make classrooms and facilities safe, appropriate restrictions on size gatherings, and when to issue stay-at-home restrictions. So again, we're going to see thorough, comprehensive plans for stay-at-home restrictions. There's going to be clear and concise communication as to outbreaks. We're going to implement more, tracers. We're going to make sure that people are aware of the number of cases wherever they are. Number 4, plan for the effective, equitable distribution of treatments and vaccines. This is the big ticket right here, y'all. Because discovering isn't enough if they get distributed like Trump's testing and PPE fiascos. So Joe Biden is planning to invest $25 billion in a vaccine manufacturing and distribution plan that will guarantee that will guarantee the vaccine to every American for free. Okay, that means that every American will be eligible under a Joe Biden administration to receive this vaccination for free. As we enter the height of the political season, politics should play no role in determining the safety and efficiency of any vaccine. The following 3 principles should guide us. Put scientists in charge of all decisions on safety and efficiency. Publicly release clinical data for any vaccine the FDA approves. Authorize career staff to write a written report for public review and permit them to appear before Congress to speak publicly uncensored. We will ensure everyone, not just the wealthy and connected in America, receives the protection and care that they deserve. Okay. Number 5, we're going to protect our elderly and high risk community. Joe Biden understands that Trump's failed response has made older Americans and others at high risk even more vulnerable. They plan to establish a COVID-19 racial and ethnic disparities task force proposed by none other than Senator Harris to provide recommendations and oversight on disparities in public health and economic response. At the end of this health crisis, it will transition to a permanent infectious disease racial disparities task force. So again, this is already transitioning into something that will prevent situations such as mass hysterectomies being implemented in detention facilities, or even another, Tuskegee experiment, which I know is a big deal for some people who are concerned about the ways in which we are testing this vaccine. I know that I am a person that, is definitely concerned myself as a Black woman. I know everyone on this panel has those reservations as well. So what Joe Biden has proposed is essentially we're going to have a team of federal advisors who will manage this task force, and we will do our best. The administration will do their absolute best to the best of their capability to ensure that all racial disparities are looked at, and they're going to have solutions on how to make sure that every person of every walk of life has the proper care that they need. And so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's the top 5. There's a more extensive, there's obviously more here. They're going to rebuild and expand the defenses, that Trump has dismantled. Obviously, we're going to fix that. And overall, last but not least, we're going to implement mask mandates nationwide. So that means that everyone will be forced to wear a mask no matter what. That will be a federal thing. That's going to be federally mandated. So we see here, people, that Joe Biden is already putting the plan in place for us to come out of this pandemic, and for all of us to be safe while we're coming out of this pandemic. We're going to start seeing, a slide in the amount of cases and the amount of deaths. And we will be comfortable in that because Joe Biden has taken the time to really, really speak to experts, get everyone involved that in the medical community that he essentially could, and he is going to make sure that these people and their expertise are first and foremost, are in the front lines of this, and he will follow their guides and not his own. So that is why Joe Biden has the plan for the future of COVID and to get us out of this pandemic. And Joe Biden, if we, if in comparison to what Trump has on the table, there is no comparison. Trump is not interested in anything that experts have to say. He is not interested in any more stimulus. I mean, they're basically dangling stimulus over our heads every 2 weeks, and we're praying for, something to come through. Donald Trump does not care to bring back jobs. He does not care about contact tracing. He is inviting his supporters out to rallies, and they're not even wearing masks. Okay, they are infecting. They are leaving these rallies and they're going to their respective hometowns and they're infecting other people. Donald Trump has made it clear that he is willing to sacrifice anyone and everyone for political gain, and within this pandemic, that is no different. Donald Trump has not even addressed one person that has died from COVID-19, including Herman Cain, who was a vocal supporter of his. So we see that again, Donald Trump has no desire to want to fix this. He wants chaos and he wants power, and he does not care who dies to get it. And again, no one is safe in Trump's America.
So since on the topic of vaccines, because I heard something from Trump today, talking about a vaccine to be available by April. I'm like, brother, you shouldn't be around that time, brother. We're just going to tell her how it is. I'm saying vaccine can be around on April. The other thing, though, is I know Joe Biden was talking about the federal mask mandate, right? Like, obviously, you can't force every single person in the country to wear a mask, but what you can do is make it a requirement on federal properties. So you're going to federal buildings and stuff, like, hey, straight up, ain't no ifs, ands, buts. You ain't got no mask, you ain't getting in on federal buildings and stuff like that. So that's that. But I wanted to ask you something about the vaccine itself. Like, all right, if a vaccine is available, well, he said April right there. How would you personally take it? Let's say, what's it going to take for you to personally say, all right, I'll do this? Matter of fact, I'm gonna pose that question to everybody on the panel real quick before we get into voting. But what's it gonna take for you to be like, all right?
Personally, because I come from medical experts. My aunt is a cardiac specialist nurse, and her husband is a geriatric specialist MD. My grandfather was a biochemist who worked through virology, and my grandmother is a psychiatric nurse staff manager. I would, because I come from that background, I would listen to them. I would listen to the experts. I would always go with the scientists. The people that get grants and don't get paid to do this for a living, the people that are, the 501cs, those that are just kind of like doing the science thing, the most off fringe people. I would definitely listen to Dr. Fauci. I would definitely listen to all medical experts that have, especially Black medical experts. I would take their word for, the effectiveness of a vaccine. I would take a look at the Black medical experts that are currently working on the vaccine, because there are quite a few. I can't bring any to name, but I do know that there is one in particular that I've followed on social media. So I would take a look at what they are saying, and I would go with their timeline. I personally wouldn't listen to anything coming out of a Trump administration or anything coming out of the GOP at all. If the GOP has control, I wouldn't listen to the government at that point. I would go with the experts that are not associated with the government.
Perfect. Yo, Kenny, I don't think, here's the thing. I'm gonna ask you.
I'm not going to be nobody's guinea pig. I'm just going to tell you that right now. If it's coming from Trump's administration, I'm not going to be the first person in line. I'm not going to be I'm just going to be staying my black ass at home. Unless it's going to be from a Biden-Harris administration, then I just don't give a fuck about what the hell they're saying. I don't trust them, so I won't be doing any of that. However, about this mandate and mask thing, I just wanted to say this. It's really not that damn serious. And we can mandate this thing, because right now, our governor, Roy Cooper in North Carolina, is making sure that if you go into any business, you have to have a mask. That you will get fined $500. Now, I don't think anybody want to miss out on no $500. It's just not worth it for no mask. But it's just like a preventative measure. It's like wearing a condom. You're doing that to prevent yourself from being infected. It's just that damn simple.
Oh.
Don't act like it's that hard to say that you can't breathe and stuff like that, and it's hard for you. It's really not. And you don't even have to have it on that long unless you're in that business for I don't know how long. If you're ordering food, 5 minutes? It's not that damn serious. Oh my God.
Well, so here's what Joe Biden has proposed for that particular mandate, y'all. So he has called on. Okay, we're not saying that this is going to be, federal, this is going to be a law, but he has called upon every American to wear a mask when they are, around people outside of their household. He has called for every governor to make a mask mandate mandatory statewide. So, Drew, to your point, he's basically going with the governors of all states. He's going to propose, hey, let's get everybody on board statewide, and then federally they're going to be required to obviously wear the mask, and that's how he's going to combat that. Local authorities will also make it mandatory, and basically this will go through state orders. So Joe Biden is looking to work again, just like with pretty much everything that he's doing. It's a he's looking to make this a collaborative effort with all, municipalities and all branches of local governance. He's not looking to kind of step on those, governors, but he is going to, push them to say, hey, we need this in each state. This is why A, B, and C. So it's going to be interesting what happens with the Republicans led states, but I think all the Democratic states are pretty much on board. I know Pritzker is for sure.
Cool. Reese, did you have something to say? Or
yeah, let me just to wrap this up. First of all, I just want to make a clarification because I've seen a couple comments of people saying, I'm not going to take anything that the administration is developing. Let me just be clear. The Trump administration is not developing a vaccine. Now, the Trump administration has helped fund vaccines, but the administration itself is not actually working on the vaccine. It is actually the vaccines that they're talking about in terms of the more advanced level of the trials are private companies, pharmaceutical companies. So that's not really the concern. Now, the vaccines will have to get FDA approval. So the kinds of things you want to look for is, again, you want to listen to the scientists, but you also want to see what kind of waivers are being done in terms of, are they getting fast tracked? Is there a political motivation for vaccines being approved? So I think that I would trust a Biden-Harris FDA approval before I would trust the Trump administration FDA approval, but I think you really have to evaluate the science. One thing that I wanted to share this, I put it in the chat a little bit earlier, but I wanted to share this really great compare and contrast of the Biden-Harris COVID plan. This is Andy Slavitt. He is a renowned epidemiologist, I believe. But anyway, he's a person, is a must follow A Slavitt on Twitter. And I think it's really important when we have these discussions that we actually compare and contrast, because this isn't just a matter, I mean, it's easy to rattle off a bunch of things that Biden and Harris would do, but it's very, very important that you understand these are things that are absolutely not going to be done by Trump. Free access to testing will not be done by Trump. Drive-through testing, Trump is closing them. Contract tracing, not happening under Trump. PPE, Trump refused on multiple occasions to invoke the Defense Production Act. Jared Kushner, there was a big expose today about how he says, let the market sort it out. And so these are the kinds of things that will not happen under Trump administration. So just take a look at this image, follow Andy Slavitt. But I think it's just so important to understand that for Trump, the silver bullet for him in his mind is two things based on this new person that he has overseeing the COVID response. One, he believes that there's going to be herd immunity, which has already been proven to be a disaster in Switzerland. That would require 60% of the country to get COVID. Okay, 60% of 300 million people would have to get COVID, and in theory, to have herd immunity. And so with the mortality rate, and Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton was on Royal Martin Unfiltered last night, so I remember these numbers of 2.9% is our current mortality rate of COVID-19, one of the highest in the entire world. So that is millions of people who would have to die. Okay, so that's Trump's response. Also, he says a vaccine, he's banking on a vaccine. Well, vaccines are not necessarily 100%. We might have issues with people trying to actually take a vaccine. This week, his CDC director testified that our biggest tool in the response to COVID is actually masks. The Donald Trump administration stopped the United States Postal Service in April from sending Sweden. It's not Switzerland. Sweden was the one that has tried this herd immunity thing and it failed. But Donald Trump stopped the U.S. Postal Service from sending every single household 5 reusable masks. So this isn't just a matter of inaction. This is actually a matter of obstruction from the Donald Trump administration. It's a matter of just letting as many people die as necessary so that the stock market remains booming and that businesses remain open. So this is literally a matter of life and death in terms of how many people we are comfortable with dying and whether or not we care about a competent response to COVID-19.
Fantastic. And as we get to wrap up, we get to kick it to Maya Contreras. We want to talk about the importance of voting. Because if you don't know, with today's events, now you know for sure. Maya, please let us know how important voting is, please.
Well, first, let me say that with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that voting rights and her name are synonymous. Because in 2016, when the VRA was gutted, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said some really prophetic words. She knew at that moment what a profoundly devastating effect that would have on our nation. And I just want to read a couple of things that she said. She said, hubris is a fit word for today's demolition of the VRA. Congress approached the 2006 reauthorization of the VRA with great care and seriousness. The same cannot be said of the court's opinion today. The court makes no genuine attempt to engage with the massive legislative record that Congress has assembled. One would expect more from an opinion striking at the heart of the nation's single piece of civil rights legislation. Throwing out our pre-clearance when it has worked and is continuing to work to stop discriminatory changes is like throwing out your umbrella in a rainstorm because you're not going to get wet. So I just want you all to know that at that moment, Ruth Bader Ginsburg knew that it was total BS that we were going to gut the Voting Rights Act in 2013. She knew that the intent was to allow, we have puppies here. Puppies, I'm live. Be with me. Be with me. I'm talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, please. No time for comedy. Thank you, dogs. So she knew right away that what the court, with this idea that we were post-racial, was grossly incorrect, right? To be nice about it. So I will say that with her passing tonight, I know that there's a lot of people that are panicked. And I want to tell people to not panic. We should have panicked in 2016 when Justice Scalia died, and then when Obama picked basically a moderate. And we should have panicked when the senators wouldn't even meet with him, because that became undemocratic, because we threw out the process of how Congress functions at that moment. We didn't see that as something that other countries do. That's like a coup happening. You see? That's when we should have panicked. The time for panicking is over, right? It is now action. It is now bucking up and encouraging your friends and family to recognize that if they don't want this country to become an authoritarian regime, then they need to spring into action. They can no longer say things like, well, I'm just not political. If you wake up in the morning and live your life, politics and policy influence every single second of your day, from the water that you drink, to the air that you breathe, to the fact that we all now have to wear masks on our face to keep us from dying. That all has to do with policy and inaction or action, right? So I want people to attach the fact that voting is attached to that. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg in her life, and I thought that she said something very powerful tonight. A woman did a documentary on her life, and she asked Ruth Bader Ginsburg, how do you want to be remembered? And I thought that this was very beautiful. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, I want to be remembered as someone who used whatever talent I have to do the work to the very best of my ability and to help repair tears in our society, to make things just a little bit better through the use of whatever ability I have. Okay? That should be a clarion call for everybody. You should be using whatever ability you have in this moment to try to recognize that we are at an impasse. People will think that is dramatic, Maya. I'm sorry, but America is not immune to the abuses that other countries suffer, like Belarus right now, where there are decredentialing journalists, where they are throwing people in jail for peaceful protesting. We are not immune from what just happened in Russia when Navalny was poisoned because he opposes Putin. Putin has killed journalists. He has jailed people that oppose him. Journalists were killed in Malta for writing stories about what was happening in their governments. America seems to think we're above that. We're not above that. I'm sure you all heard a report this week, and I will wrap it up with this. Sure, you all heard a report this week that Trump administration was trying to get a heat ray gun to point at protesters, a type of ammunition that they didn't want to use during the Iraq war. What it does is it sends impulses to the skin to make it feel like you're on fire. Yeah, he wanted to put that at protesters, peaceful protesters. We are not at some point of inaction. We are in a sea of chaos. And so right now, there's only a few things you can do. And by the way, these are the easiest things you can do. I'm going to tell you what the easiest things you can do, right? Wow, Maya, how do you stop an authoritarian regime from happening? Okay, well, I have a few simple suggestions. Become a poll worker, make phone calls for Joe Biden, or if you're in a state where it's a senator like Mark Kelly, who's running in Arizona, make calls on behalf of him. Sure, he's beating Martha McSally by about 10 points, but it doesn't matter. Nothing's a sure thing, correct? Make phone calls for Jamie Harrison in South Carolina, right? Even if you're shy, we don't get to go door knocking, which is shown to be the most effective way to get voters to go and show up at the polls. So we have to make phone calls. We have to make text messages. We have to remind people that this is a year where they need to vote. And then I'm in Virginia right now. I'm visiting my in-laws. What is today in Virginia? I said this earlier on my little voting thing today. It's early voting. Early voting started in Virginia today. In 4 states it started. And early voting is going to start opening up next week in more states and more states the next week. So vote early. You can vote in person or you can get your ballot and you can send it in. I think someone tweeted something very nice. I'll end with this. Today someone said, there is no election day this year. That's true. There's no one singular election day this year. This idea that we're all going to go to the polls on November 3rd can no longer really exist in that true way anymore, except for like maybe the 4 states where there is no early voting. But the rest of the states have early voting. You have to do it weeks beforehand. If something's wrong with your ballot, you can cure it, you can correct it. Okay? So that's what I'm going to say. So RIP Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's all I have to say. Thank you all.
And that's all we got to say about that.
Wait,
thank you. Oh, my bad.
I just want to add one thing. Maya, you mentioned curing ballots. There's already data that's come back. North Carolina, there's been a surge of mail-in ballot requests. And there's already data that's come back that's shown that Black voters are getting their ballots rejected at a higher rate, 4.7% compared to 1.1%. And the number one reason that, and this is something that's so important, if you're going to vote by mail, which is perfectly fine, I do not want to discourage anybody from voting by mail. We are in the middle of a pandemic, but it is incredibly important that you follow all of the directions. Okay, they're not the same for every single state. They're not the same for every locality. So you have to take the time to read through your ballots. If it says that you have to circle, if you have to fill it in, shade it in completely, you have to shade it in completely. Don't just put an X. Make sure you're using the right, whether it's a pen, the right color of a pen. But one of the things in particular in North Carolina that's happening is people are missing the witness requirement. I just want to make sure that I'm stating this right. I was reading this article earlier on 538. And let me see.
Yeah, I will say that the two reasons why, or three reasons why ballots are usually rejected is because someone is missing a signature, or they're missing a witness, or they mail it late. Those are the three main reasons why ballots are rejected. The ballots that were rejected in North Carolina that they have found is that most of those voters had missed the signature. North Carolina is one of the states, luckily, that allows you to correct your ballot. Not every state has that. I put on Twitter today that we should be encouraging our representatives, the DNC, the Biden campaign, to make videos, not just a PDF. You have to be more accessible than that. Make videos saying, this is my ballot, this is what it looks like, this is the envelope, this is where you sign, and this is how you get your witness. Your witness has to be registered, your witness has to sign here, it has to be clear. I posted a video of one of the best videos I've seen. And of course, it was two Black women who did it. And I believe it was from I think it might've been South Carolina. I'll repost it. It was fabulous how they showed you how you fill out your ballot and where you need to sign and who needs to sign it and where you can drop it off. So that's what's really, really important right now. So I'm with you, Reese, on the fact that the problem with ballot rejections, there's nefarious reasons, right? They'll say there's a mismatch, right? There wasn't a hyphen in the name, or the address wasn't right. That's some Georgia stuff. That's what Kemp did. It's really disgusting. However, there's also some simple reasons. And I really believe that the campaigns need to spend more time on voter education. And early voting has begun. It officially began today. As I told Kenny earlier today during my voting talk, I'm wearing my big hair today because it's a big day. Early voting starts, okay? So yes, I'm with Reese. You have to know where to sign.
Yes, you have to know where to sign. You have to make sure that your signature is matching. You have to know everything. Do not leave any stone unturned. Do not get this far and mess up. And I'm not saying that don't take this as something as this is a tedious or onerous requirement. It's not. It's simple. It's as simple as following directions and making sure that you follow up and that you cure any kind of issue. Like I think Maya said, most states do allow you to cure your ballot. So that is just incredibly important. If we have a 4.9% rejection rate that continues, that's not cured, that's bad. Okay. Those are wasted votes. And so we cannot afford that margin of rejection. For white voters, it's 1.8%. Okay. So we cannot afford Black voters approaching 5% rejection rate. The onus is on us. We have to seek out the information and just make absolute certain that not only are you filling out your ballot properly, but that you are returning it properly as well, in terms of if there's a drop box, in terms of how you have to mail it back in, time stamping, a number of things. All of that has to be done properly.
Okay, y'all.
Just make sure you guys early vote.
Yeah, I just want to jump in real fast, and there's breaking news on the timeline. Mitt Romney has committed to not confirming a Supreme Court nominee until after Inauguration Day. Okay, so some Republicans are not going for.
Wait, did he say that, or was it the putz that said it online saying he heard about it? Did he say it?
You know what? He did not. This is not
okay. Because if Mitt Romney doesn't post it himself, I wouldn't believe anything until Romney says it, because. Washington, I remember getting on Kenny about this like earlier this year, because he goes, a friend said this. I'm like, Reese lives in Washington. I grew up visiting my grandfather in Washington. Nothing means shit in Washington unless it comes from the person's mouth and it's put in paper. You know what I'm saying? So let's
we need
wait
to see that tweet.
What?
We need to see that
We need
tweet.
to see the tweet. And I
We need to see it.
And every reporter right tonight needs to be calling all of them and saying, you didn't meet with Merrick Garland in 2016.
There you go.
Are you going to commit to this or not? Because very hypocritical. Call them out. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah.
And honestly, y'all, I mean, we have a chance here. There will probably be some Republicans that may not allow, Mitch McConnell to just run this nominee through. So that means don't around. Okay. Do not F around. Okay. We need everyone. We need turnout. Early voting is already starting, and it's already looking we're looking like a landslide, y'all. But don't sit at home. This is not one. And RGB needs you. John Lewis needs you. Elijah Cummings needs you. Your country needs you. We need you. We need you to get out and vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, period.
And women's bodies need you. I want everybody to know that too. If you want to say period, because I'll be honest with you, shoot, you ain't gonna be no prenatal care, and since we saying period, but I'm just saying, listen, just keep a woman that you know her uterus in your mind. Vote. Thank you. That's the inaugural episode of Biden Harris Watch. You know what I'm saying? New name, same whole thing, new hollow tips and the same old clips.
I swear this show gets more and more interesting the closer we get to this election, because every week we got something new. We got some more wild craziness going on every week.
Like I said, look, new name, same old tips, some new hollow tips, same old clips. You know what I'm saying? It's Biden Harris Watch. You know what it is. Appreciate the time. Take care.
Bye, y'all.